Very good.
You're friends with me, so what does that say for you?
Are we friends? Oh, you were saying we were friends.
We can be friends.
Well, I do, but I will let students friend me. But if I get something inappropriate posted, everybody that I know sees it, and I've got a lot of people that are, preachers, people like that. So I'm a little bit skittish if I get one of you in the casino or at a drunken party with your friends. That's when I typically will hide you or unfriend you. And I've had a few of those, or out and about with, I understand people are young and stuff. I was too. But most of my friends now are posting pictures of their grandkids and cats doing strange stuff. And so I'm really not, I'm not up for, hey, we're in Vegas and we're rolling in. That's not good stuff. Or crazy political stuff. Okay. Let me make sure we're rolling here. And again, if you come in a little bit, I start usually early. Don't worry about it. You can always scroll back and see. Let's see. Now you'll have to beam in to the class to be able to see my machine, because they still don't have things set up where I can display up here. So we'll have to do that. We will overcome. Yes.
Okay, so if you start early
Mm-hmm.
and you like take attendance, do you are you gonna know that I'm here in the class?
If you log the way I do attendance, I think I'd explained that before. The attendance is very simple. You log into Canvas, okay? And if you spend some time in Canvas or any amount of time in Canvas, then you've attended. So let's say that now, let's say that right now, at this moment in time, you could not be in the room, or you could not be in the room. Now, the thing that's important for everybody to understand is it's not only you logging in, but it's also I look at participation. I get a report from Canvas. It tells me how much time you spent and what you did. I get a full report. So I'm watching everyone. Yes.
In order here Tuesday that we didn't log in, that counted as an absence for us.
Yeah. Are you logged in today?
But I didn't know when I log in Tuesday.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. That's why I posted sent the email out to everybody, and then I posted the registrar over in the announcements, so everybody knew. Okay. So that's attendance. You log in. I get a report of everything everybody does. If when they logged in, how much time they spent here, etc. So it's you're good to go. Actually, it's in your favor because you don't have to worry about me as a human being up here. I maybe don't mark you correctly or whatever your count. I can see it, and I get a report on everything everybody does. So that's why they like it. That's why people are going to these, because they do make it.
I've got a question.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so me being logged into the Zoom right now,
Mm-hmm.
enough activity on Canvas.
Yeah. If you're logged in, you're here. Yeah. Yeah. Some of you may have instructors, I guess, maybe call out. Maybe they check a chart. I don't know. I don't trust those, especially the large classes I have. And so that's why for me, it's you log in at the day and time, and you have till noon tomorrow to officially attend if something happened like today. Okay? Then I look at participation as well. I get a report. If you look over, now you won't see this on your machines, and maybe you won't on mine, on my view, but I click on people, and I get a nice summary report that tells me your last activity, how much total activity, how much time you've spent. And then I can go back over and even drill down on, I can drill down on what's going on with you individually. Will tell me. Okay? All right, now, folks, let's go ahead and get started. And again, you'll need to be logged in on Canvas, and that's over there. I have an invitation. It's posted here in the announcements area, that Zoom meeting that's for today. And so let's start with the modules, all right? And let's take a look at what we've got going on now. We're at week 0, and one of the things we wanted to do was to look at, we're going to do a course intro, which I think we did a lot of Q&A that kind of got us along the way as far as that goes. Look at the one link there, and I want to just make sure I cover these. The point distribution, there's a PDF that shows you all of the point-bearing activities that are in the course. They'll tell you, how many of these assignments, etc. I've discussed the workshops, so I think that's pretty clear. The exams, that's self-evident. So and I have this PDF at the end of each module. So you should never have any problems in determining, how many points are for a given assignment. And I will usually have that indicated where you either upload the thing or you take the exam or whatever. Okay? Fair enough so far? Now, let me pop through, and we'll go to the next one. And these are resources for quizzes and exams. And so for every one of those quiz or exams, I will tell you the resources that you need to use and where they're at. Okay? Now, some of these, you'll have quizzes out of the textbook, the few textbook for sure. You're going to have some exams where I'm going to have you go and use some of the materials there in the Canvas room and dig those out. That's why I've got those identified for you. So if you want to know what's on it, it's there. Is that fair enough? Yes? Okay. Mm-hmm.
So like the financial ratios quiz, first one, it says I'll find file section Canvas, Excel S4.
Mm-hmm.
I went to files, find that just to check it, it was not there.
XLS4 wasn't there? Oh, well, let's go over to the files for a second. All right. I might have hidden it. It might be either in here. Or up in those announcements area. Yeah, there's this one. Let's see here. Just a second. That's cool. Oh, cool sound vibe. Somebody's got it on there. All right. Now, if you would please, whoever's listening, you need to mute. So if you don't mute, let me get this. All right. Let me keep looking down through here. And so I told you XLS4 was the file, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, who's not muted? Okay, I've got someone out there. There you are. Okay. Now, let's look over and let's go back to the modules for a minute. And let's look up at the welcome section. We might have that in there. I'm gonna do a quick search. 4. If not, I'll load it for sure. There's okay. Here I've got I've got the space uploaded. I've got the key, and that's not an exam, but that's a workshop. So now the financial ratio would be one of them that you could use for that exam. So I'm going to publish it. Thanks. All right. So you should see down in week 3, you should see a thing that appears it's called XLSX4 key. You should have that. And let's do this just to make it, just so we can kind of quickly go through this. You'll want to download this file for the resources. And if you find something else, shoot me an email. And that's for the cases. Now for the exams, and we'll find those quizzes and exams. And there may be some of them that I haven't published yet. I need to look at that. All right. Financial ratios quiz. There's XLS4. You should find a file over there called Dabney XLS4.
All right, Taylor. Good to see you. Cole, I'll see you later. Let's go to the library. I'm going to the library to do it. So no distractions.
Watch the video.
Then just don't watch. Just turn it on and don't watch it. But I don't want to watch it later because I don't have time later. I'm gonna get it done.
There we go. Now, can everybody still hear me? Can anybody out there hear me? All right, I'm going to see if I can unmute myself. No, I'm not muted. I'm good. Okay, because I still got sound. Okay, that's good. They should be able to hear me. All right. If they don't, maybe yeah, they should be able to hear me because I've muted the mic. So you want to go ahead and look there. I don't want to spend any more class time. If you see something there that I listed, it's not there, it's probably because I haven't made it published. So I don't want to spend too much more time going through that one thing. Okay, but take a look there. Yes, yeah, and that's just when I copy these courses from one semester to the next. Some stuff gets published, some of it doesn't. So I kind of have to work through that. So if we get ready to, like this first financial ratio quiz, if you can't find the Dabney, it's not over there. Okay. Well, we'll just take time and we'll do every one of it. Let's do Dabney. And there's Dabney, and it's published. Dabney Case Excel. SIP. Okay. And then we'll go back and back to the module, to the files. And let's see what else for that. And now I also have a link to a supplemental website where I've got a bunch of stuff stored over there. So you'll want to take a look at that as well. And then the financial ratio analysis. Got a resource on that. So we found XLS4, had that for you, the Dabney case 4, and then financial ratio analysis. And let's look to see location. File section Canvas. Go over there and look. And we'll do a quick search. And there it is. Find it? Yeah. Now, here's the thing, and I kind of have to always remind myself. When you want to find something in here, do Control F, and you can do a search. You'll find it. Okay. Everything should be there for that first quiz. And again, if you're getting ready to take something and I don't have it published, give me a holler. I'll make sure I make it available or have it there. Okay. All righty. I want to go back to and I'm going to close off that and well, let me stop for a moment. The announcements section, you're going to see there's just a bunch of stuff in here as well. You'll find a lot of these that will be in here for some of the exams, and I'll just I'll make sure that in the copy from this stuff from one semester to the next that we're in good shape. Let's go to the modules and let's go now I'm going to close off that welcome and let's look at the week 0. Now, what I want to do today is to take some time to cover XLS3. And it's Guardian Roofing Payroll. And I want to let you see a really nicely done finished product in terms of a payroll register. Now, XLS1 and XLS2 deal with that kind of issue or case. And I'm going to go back over here for just a moment over to the text. And I'm going to go to chapter 1. Okay. And we'll find some basic spreadsheet modeling. And when I refer you to something, for example, like figure 1.1, okay, in the textbook's going to give you some information about the particular situation, what they're trying to accomplish, okay? And then they will usually show you some of the code or explain what's going on in terms of how they got the answers or the figures that are displayed. So you'll see in that resources list that I have, I'll refer to that. Okay, got me so far? Yes. I'm going to go over 3 today. Well, let's look at that for just a moment. For 1 and 2, okay, I have 2 things we're gonna work with. One type will be a case that I've done. I've finished products, so you can take a look at it. And then I'm also going to refer you over to the cases that are there in the textbook. Now let's go back then and take a look at those resources. Now I'll go back into Canvas, okay? And once you kind of get the hang of this, it won't be that big of a deal. So let's open this up here, the resources for the cases. Now for XLS number 1, all right, there's that whistle cleaners. That's a finished case that I worked through, okay? And I'll show you that. We looked at it a little bit yesterday. With me so far? Now, if you look also, you're going to see a file from the Winston text, okay? That's the Excel text. And I have Bakery to Temp. See the tab named Customers. Now, over in the Files section here, I have an Excel Companion Content 1. And that's a zip file with that's a zip file with the case files that we're going to be working with, okay? Now I'm going to go into the files for a moment, and I'll show you that. And we're going to put Excel, let's put Companion, render it up quick enough, okay? And if you look here if you look on your screen, you're going to see Access Companion Content Zip Code, zip, see a zip file? Okay, then you're going to see Excel Companion Content 1. That's several chapters out of that Winston text. Got me? Then you're going to see the Excel Companion Content 2. Now let's just go ahead and take a look at these 2 Excel ones. Let's look at this first one. That's the one we'll be dealing with. So I'm going to download that. Okay. Now what I do, as just a matter of course, is when I download it. Now I'm working in Chrome. You might be working in something else. What I like to do is just to make sure I go ahead and I have it shown in the folder, and then I diminish the file. So let's see, I'm going to Well, is it going to let me show it in the folder or not? I guess you're not going to do that. Well, I'll just go ahead and I'll open it. And is it going to let me? Oh, it's not going to play nice with me. It's available. And let's see. I'll open this type of file. Oh, it's still, okay, it's still rendering. I see. Once it turns green, it'll be ready. It's pretty good size files. It's 32 megabytes. What you're going to find in there once you get it downloaded is you're going to see it's going to have a chapters, you know, whatever number of chapters. I think it's the first 7 chapters or 6 chapters, whatever it is, of the textbook, the Excel text. And you'll see a chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. And inside that, you're going to see some things called practice files, solutions, and templates. And I'll always clearly identify which one of those that we're going to use. Okay. And so we got 32. We should be good here. Let's open. Is it going to open up from here or not? That is really weird. Open for you guys either? Oh, great. I'm sorry, what did you do?
It wouldn't upload for me, so I just texted out at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Clicked on and download it again, and I'll pop up.
Oh, okay. So you just texted out?
Yeah. And then click on
Okay, I'm going to cancel it. Okay. And then we'll download it again and see if that does it. I'm not understanding why it's not opening up for us. Anybody else get theirs open yet? No? Yes? A few of you? Okay.
I was on edge.
Strange. Well, I'm going to do this.
Like,
Still didn't get it? Okay. Great. All right. What have I got going on here? Okay. And I've got mine frozen. That's nice. These things will happen. So the best we can do is try to work through them. Now, okay, I've got the files. All right. Okay, they're going to reference this file here. Okay, let me try this again. My apologies, it's just stuff we're going to run into, I'm afraid. All right. Well, there's my compressed file. That's weird. Okay. And all right. Let's go back here and try this. All right, files. How many of you have been able to get the files to download? Okay. All right. I know I'm the laggard driving behind. Let me try this. It's going to be called, what you're after there is Excel Companion Content 1. And I'm going to click the download. Let's see if that'll do it for me. Maybe. I may have so much stuff open, it's just not going to let me. I think I've got it on my desktop too, so we can play with it. But what you'll want to do is get it, well, anytime. Yeah. I'm not understanding what's going on there with that. Not encountered this one before. Uh-huh. Yeah, I've tried that. I'm going to cancel this. Just write the files right here, like this, where I'm at. Now it's going to show me, it'll show me, it'll show some of the files, but not what I'm after. All right. I'll take a look here in just a second. Let's see. Okay. So this is done. Great. All right, now let me finish this out first. Okay, if you can get yours to download, I already have mine on my desk, so I'll just show you this. In fact, I think I just downloaded it. You found them? Okay, my apologies. I've got mine on my desktop, but sometimes this stuff happens, so that's why we're doing this. Let's go through here and let me size this up. Now, if you look here, you're going to see here are the resources, okay, for the cases, and then I should have the companion, and I have the Excel companion files for this. Open up now. Okay, you got those? All right, now if you have your phone, you're not working. If you're not working on your own device, this won't do much good. But if you have your own, you may want to just go ahead and save that. But I'm going to open Chapter 1. Okay. And I want to get that resource file that we're going to be working with. And open it up here. All right. Now the textbook, as I'd shown you, I'll refer to a particular figure in the textbook, and there will be instructions and information and background about what you see there in the figure. In the figure, they'll typically show you a finished product, and sometimes they will show you the cell with the formula, so you get the formula view. And I'll show you what we're talking about here on XLS1. This is Chapter 1, Figure 1.5. Okay, so I'm going to diminish that down. Okay, and I'm going to come over here to Vital, and I'm going to go to Chapter 1. And I'm going to find Figure 1.5. Question? I'm sorry, I apologize. I've got the textbooks in digital form stored in the library. I'm sorry. So in the textbook, in the Winston text, the green textbook, the Excel textbook, you'll want to go over and take a look at Figure, I think it's Figure 1.5 is the one, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look here again. Figure 1.5. Okay, good. Now I'll show what I'm talking about. That's okay. It's good we work through this. There's Figure 1.7. I want Figure 1.5. Here's Figure 1.5. Okay, and now I'm in the textbook, and you'll go to the first chapter there, and they refer to this, and this file. I refer that to you because that's the file that we're going to be working with. And I also identify the name of the file. So you say, well, what will the instructions be on that? Well, they're there, okay? And in the textbook, yes. I'm in the textbook right now at Figure 1.5. So if you have the green text, you ought to have that text with you when you come to class, either in digital format or have your textbook itself, okay? Yes.
Where are you at right now? How did you get there?
I'm in the text. I'm on figure 1.5 in chapter 1. You got it?
That's not.
Did you find it? And that's the one that I referred to is chapter 1, figure 1.5. Yes. Okay. What you're going to turn into me for XLS1 is either of the following. If you go back and take a look at the Excel resources, okay? You're going to upload one of the following. I don't care. You're going to upload either the whistle cleaners file, okay, or this file from the text, okay? Now, I'm going to go through them. If you want to try doing the text before, that's fine, and upload it for the workshop credits. You have that option. The second option is to upload one of these I go through. Okay? Okay, it's a workshop, so I want you to have a chance if you want to try to see it and how it ought to be done. Now, I'll go through it and say, here's what we've done, etc. Okay? And so you can upload, you could upload either one of these. Are you with me in the screen there? Okay, so you can upload the whistle cleaners. That's a completed case I worked through, and it has the same kind of problem we're dealing with and the same kind of techniques that we're going to use. Yeah, and with some of the stuff we've had to do, we've spent some time here, so that time I would spend explaining it is fine. Now, otherwise, if I don't get to cover that, go in and take a look at it and take a look at some things like how did they get the results, what types of cell referencing they use, and if you want to know what I'm really talking about, for example, we're looking at that tracking, like that whistle cleaners that we looked at, that tracking, and how we looked at it, and we could do some more work with it, etc. So. Now the other alternative, and that for people who want to try to do it on their own and then upload it, which is fine, okay? Either one of those that you upload is fine, because I'm going to cover one or both of these in class, all right? So if you want to see the finished product on the one out of the Winston book, those are there for you to look at and to use, and it explains those. So it could be either one of those, I don't care, okay? Yes? What your excuses to confuse us what? Well, XLS1. Okay. You have the file with the resources for the cases. You got it open. Let's look at XLS1. Okay. Take a look at the table. Now let's go through it. Business problem and spreadsheeting skill. Okay. So what we're dealing with here, where we're trying to do client tracking and prospect sources, that type of thing. So you've got a file, that whistle cleaners, okay? That's one that I've done, all right? And I've got that there for you to take a look at, and we go through that. The other one is the bakery, and that's over in that's over in that Excel companion file. And I tell you where you can find that. Over there, the location of the text file is in the Excel companion 1, content 1. Is it making sense so far? Now, you say, okay, well, the related text materials. Well, we're in the Winston text, so I'm going to diminish this down, and I'll show you here in figure 1.5. Let's find it. Okay, this is figure 1.5. Okay. And that's that file there is going. They're going to show you. They're showing you there in the text how that file's put together. For example, if you look on the very far, well, that file is got a combination of two things. It's got some display cells. Then it also over there, and if you see at the far right, well, the far 3 columns, it's showing the formula. How did you get that? Okay. you can try and do that one on your own if you care to. You don't have to, because I'm going to cover it in class. Or you could do the whistle cleaners and look at it. I'll go over it in class. It's one that's finished. Okay. Now, this one, the bakery temp file, this one's also, it's in the companion zip file. So you have the file there. Okay. And then you have the textbook that tells you, well, here's what we did to get the results. Okay. So I'm taking two kinds of things. One, something I've already done, and I can tell you, okay, here's what I did in an old case file. Then I also have the files from the Winston text, have instructions there, okay, and a finished product and an example. Does that help? No? You don't look like it does. You're going to have to trust me that what I want you to do is to try them. When I talk about workshop credit, I want you to try them. If you and as I go through one, I will probably answer some of your questions, all right? Then the case file, like some of these finished case files that I've got, you're going to see how we did those as well. Yes?
Okay, so clarify like what the actual assignments are that we're doing in this class, like the purpose of this class. We're looking at like scenarios or like things that have happened, situations that have played out, and then we're like looking at them and figuring out what's wrong with them, or showing in like in the Excel file like what needs to be changed, better. Like is that like the nature of each assignment?
Okay.
What we're doing? Like just clarifying like the overview of what this class is.
Well, the overview of what this class is business problem analysis, okay? Now, there's about 2 or 3 things that we're trying to get accomplished. The first one is if I have a particular problem in business, okay, how could I use Excel, a spreadsheet tool, to take data and put it into that spreadsheet, use some formulas, functions or whatever that lets me see that problem and understand and be able to make a decision. Okay. Now there are as we go through the course, those Excel files and those cases are going to get a little bit more complex as we go along. Okay. Now the second thing is the access. We're going to have some access cases, 6 of them. And we're going to take a look and say, okay, we're going to get a little bit of a sense of how Access works, how we put together a database, just some rudimentary stuff. And then we're going to talk about, we're going to do that. And we're going to say, okay, how would I use it to address a particular business problem I have where I need to use that? Okay?
So it's learning how to use these tools or handle or manage data and information that we have.
Yes.
For a given situation.
Yes. These tools are designed, a spreadsheet tool or a database is designed to do this, to let you take data and manipulate it, then display it in order to make a decision. Data is just stuff. Information is what we call actionable data. That is, looking at the spreadsheet, I can see that I've got a bunch of clients I need to call. Or looking at the bakery thing that maybe I need to raise my prices. Be able to do that and walk you through that because you probably won't discover that on your own. This is not where I'm going to have you say, and I'll go, well, in cell 5, you should have had this. And the reason I record these is because you can have them to play back and take a look at. Now, there's one other final thing about that, okay? I'm sorry, question?
Yes.
Conversation?
Question. So, to get credit in this class for what you come and we listen to the workshop and then we upload whatever files associated with the activity. Okay.
And plus, you have exams and you have quizzes. Okay? Now, there's a fourth thing that's you're asking me about the class to crystallize it down. The text, the few text. Have you have it? The great big one? Show me the numbers. Okay? But you have it. Okay, we got to bring it to class with you. Why are we using that text? Think about the title. It says, show me the numbers. What that text is about is, okay, if somebody provides me a chart, okay, or they provide me if they provide me a bar chart or a time series line or a pie chart, some type of set of data that they display, have they done it in a way that communicates effectively what I'm trying to communicate? Ultimately, these tools tell a story or they make a point so that somebody can look at them and make a decision. Okay? Now, the other is to just, the final one I would say in terms of crystallizing is to look at some typical kinds of business problems that are there and to alert you to them. Some things like forecasting a budget, some things like, okay, how, if I sell my stuff on credit to people, what are the implications in terms of how long I let them take to pay me? We'll have a case where we'll do that. All right. And I think, does that help some? Now, anybody else have a question, or you have some comments, or?
A question.
Yeah.
So, like you have a pulled up.
Yeah.
It said, you go ahead. You have a
Okay. We have, you said we could upload the whistle cleaners for credit, but
Mhm.
on your resource chart, it says we have to upload a bakery 210 or some named customers.
No, I haven't said you have to. You can do either one of them or above. I don't care.
So basically, this entire photo of the columns, either or.
Either or, exactly.
And
Yeah.
also, Clean and Beauty is not in the files.
I'll make sure that it appears there. Okay. But we can look at the files and see if it is. Is that helping some? So you can do either one. That's the workshop. Now, you said, well, okay, why are you doing this? Because as we get down to the exams, I'm going to give you a hands-on part for your exam. And the hands-on part will be based on some of the cases we've worked on. So having seen those cases and worked through and figured out, okay, here's how I would do this, then you're able to do the hands-on part. Does that explain to you how? Okay. Yeah? Okay. Now, let's see if we can find that file. We're spending some time here that I wanted to do some other things. That's okay. Let's make sure we're in good shape. Now, you say, what was the file you couldn't find? Was it Athena? Okay. Let me do this. Let's look at the files part. All right. And if you'll do the search there, I think you'll find it. It's called Athena Beauty. Let me make it, yeah, I got it. I'll publish it for you right there if I can get out of this. Okay. And it should appear, it should be published. Is it there? Okay. Now, perhaps this will help. These case files like Whistle Cleaners, Athena Beauty, etc., are stuff that are things that I've worked on and messed with for quite a while, improving them, tweaking them, etc. There are no guidelines or anything like that. Okay, that's why I also have the Winston text and those files that will give you detailed instructions of how they got that finished product. Is everybody with me there? So let's look for just a minute, and I'm going to go over into the Winston text and let's take a look. Now, we referred over to 1.4, okay, and figure 1.5. Go over the text. You ought to have it. So if you come to class and you don't have your textbooks, I really can't help you much because you got to have your textbooks with you. Right? So right now, the few texts, I understand that because those are quizzes out of that. But these other texts, the Winston text, the Excel one, that you ought to have for sure. So if everybody can see, is looking at my screen, I'm over here and I'm at figure 1.5, okay? And this is, they're looking at this file, and they give us a file where they have a starting value and then a number of new, I think this is a membership. They're looking at memberships year by year, okay? Now this is an example of the kinds of thing that we would work with first of all, because we did the thing with the prospect tracking and all that business. So what we're going to do, what they're going to do here is we're going to say, all right, I'm going to have a starting number of members, okay? And then I have a new number each year. And then I have what they call a churn rate. Everybody with me on the screen? You see that? Now the churn rate is going to be is going to be a percentage of those people who quit, they leave. I'm going to have a starting number of people. I'm going to have new people come in, and then I'm going to have some leave. So we know this figure comes from some type of data that they've collected, whatever, that for that 15% of their new customers, 15% of their customers, they have a 15% churn rate. So they're going to have a number of them quit. And if you look there at cell E8, you see the 15. All right, you say, where'd you get that? Well, they started with 100. So 100 times 0.15 is 15. Now we started at 100. We lost 15 of them. The churn rate, that's 85. We have 20 new people. So at the end of the year, we have 105. You see how we got that? Now, if you look over starting in column G, this is what, and maybe if you took BTEC, if you took BISS 1103 with us, you hopefully saw the formula view. In Excel, you get two views. One is the result view like you would see in cell D8, okay? The other is a formula view. And if you look at G8, you're going to see the reference, cell reference. And so it says in G8 equals C2. Okay? So they're giving you that just a straight definitional cell reference. Now, if you look at H8, okay, take a look at it, and you're going to see that the quit formula equals C4 times C8. Now, notice something about C4. Is there something about it that you see that pops out at you? The dollar signs. What are the dollar signs telling you? The technical term is it's an absolute reference. The dollar sign in front of the C says we're pinning this to column C. The dollar sign in front of the 4 says we're pinning this to row 4. So we're saying we're using C4. Excel is designed, if you don't do that, to work horizontally or vertically, columns or rows. Okay? You with me there? So cell referencing can save you a ton of time and a lot of error. So if you look at H8 there, what they're saying is, okay, C4, I've declared it as something important. And what I've done is I've used the two dollar signs to pin that. Then I've got C8, okay, and C8 that's the starting number of customers. Now, me being a purist, I would say if you're going to do it properly, you probably ought to go ahead and put a dollar sign in front of the C so that Excel knows I'm staying in that column. The rows will change, but the column will stay the same. So I wouldn't agree with what the authors did here, although it works. But if you want to be exact, you would. And notice, I'm looking at C8, C9, C10, And when you ask me, say, okay, well, what is one of the things I learned out of the course that's important? It's something called algorithms. Right? This is an algorithm. It's a performance. It's a way that I get a particular answer or I solve a particular problem. Now, if you look in those companion files, what you're going to see is it has some, if you go into the Excel companion for chapter 1, 2, or any of them, you'll see some things called templates. A template is exactly what it says it is. It's a spreadsheet that's set up that I can plug in different numbers, but the variables and the formulas, et cetera, are the same. Okay? So let's look at this, the rest of it. Now, what this is showing us is about some things about setting up a file or setting up a spreadsheet, okay? And then how to do cell referencing. Now let's notice something. If you go up here to this, up here, you'll see in the top, and I want to go back up here to the array in this thing, B2 over to C4, okay? This is what we call the assumptions area. So I'm making some assumptions. Got me? I have an assumption that I start with 100. I have an assumption that I have 20 new per year, and I have a churn rate of 15%. These are assumptions. Now, if I use the cell referencing properly, I'm going to be able just to drag and drop this all the way down. So what the authors have done here is they've kind of give us these first 3 columns show us some numbers, okay? And then over in the last 3 columns, they show us using the formula view how they got that. Now, finally, the ending formula is over in column I equals C8 plus D8 minus E8. Let's put it in English. The end formula is 100, that's C8, plus D8, and that's 20, minus E8, which is 15. Now, what I will often do for myself if I'm working through something is I would take and I would go into this into the file, and I'll make some, I can insert a text box and I can make notes to myself. Okay? And that reminds me, okay, here's how you did what you did. Well, what the authors are trying to show you here is cell referencing and using assumption areas. So again, there in I, to put it in English, it says it equals 100 plus 20 minus 15. And so it's 120 minus 15, so I should have 105. Now, I8, I can go back and turn Excel. I can go back into the view, and I can change it back to where it shows the display. Excel has 2 layers, okay? One is going to be the display. The other is going to be the formula that underlies it. You got me? Yes. Yeah, there's a you can go in there, and I think it's on a view section, and you can click that. And I believe the authors probably walk you through the process too. And anytime you get stuck on something like that, or let's see, if I'm working with some function or something, there's scads of stuff out there in YouTube. I think it's on the view section of Excel. Let's look here for just a moment. Well, I don't have any numbers in here to deal with that, but let's see, view. All right, I just don't use it very much to get the page break. 100. Let me see if data. I just don't use it very much, so I'd have to go in there and find where that works. And there's always help. I mean, Excel's got 300 functions and all these different ways you can view it and look at it. But what you have there is what you have back in that file that we were looking at is a formula view. And they may even give you some help. They may even tell you up there how that works. But the main thing of this case right here is, okay, how do I set up a spreadsheet? Simple one. Number two, how do I take and create it and create it in a way that I get the information I need with a minimal amount of effort? And again, I start with this array here of B2 to C4. That's my assumptions area. And see, let's say, for example, so why is this important? Okay, well, let's look at C4. The churn rate's 15%. Okay, what would happen if the churn rate goes to 10% or it goes to 20? Do I have to redo all the formulas? No. I just put in the new churn rate and everything repopulates as it should. Okay? Now, that doesn't sound very important until you've got 400 or 500 of these kinds of things to work with, and you'll go, I want to make sure I can drag and drop it. Okay? Does that help some? Yes? Am I helping some? So I've given you, when you talk about the workshop credits, okay, there's one of two ways you could, really one of three, but let's just go through it. If you say, okay, I'm going to upload Whistle Cleaners, or I'm going to upload Athena, that's fine because I'm going to talk about it in class, or I'll have enough notations in it that you can take a look at and see what I'm doing. If you're more comfortable saying, okay, I'd really rather have a textbook with me and go step by step by step, that's fine too, and I give that alternative for you. The third is you can work with both. That makes sense? Now let's look at these companion files because I want to talk about them for just a minute. And I think I've got those out there on my desk. All right, I'm in chapter 1 of all these files from the Excel Companion 1 zip file, okay? Now, you'll see I've got 3 kinds of files. I've got practice files, solution files, or templates. Let's open up the practice files for just a moment. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open those up, okay? And you'll see we've got the bakery final, the bakery 2 final, chapter 1 customers, coffee, PIMDA's final, and wages final. These are all from these little vignettes or cases in chapter 1. And if you look in the textbook, the Winston text, the green textbook, you'll see those cases. So these are practice files if you want to work with them. Just for kicks, let's open up one. And let's look at bakery final. And we'll open it up for just a sec. Yeah, I'm looking at bakery 1. Okay, now the textbook will supply you the narrative and fill in the blanks in terms of what you've got here. Okay, let's look at it for just a second. What it looks like to me is they've got some prices from different suppliers. Okay, and then I've got butter, flour. And so I've got these suppliers for these different prices, okay? And then I have a quantity for each product from each supplier. So far, so good? Yeah? Okay. Now, as I scroll on down here, I get some cost figures. Now, notice this. Look at cell C23. And you're going to see it, what you see there in the display, okay, is the formula. So it's showing you a formula view on that. And I apologize, I just don't do much with the formula view. I just don't. Okay, yes.
It shows you before. So if you want to go like enter a cell,
Oh, okay.
type formula text,
Okay.
and the number you want it to show.
Okay, good. All right, good. Thank you. Now, if you look at this for a moment, take a look up in where you typically put look at the formula bar. That's typically where you're going to put that is where you'll put the formulas or whatever you're going to do with Excel. See it? Now, you've got the answer up there in the formula bar, but you have the you have the view of how did I get 220? Well, I took E5 times E14. Okay? And it uses the formula function. This is equal to text. I click in there and it's giving me that function equal formula text E23. Now, let's come over here to the costs. We've got these costs supplied by each supplier. Okay? With me so far? Now, if we scroll on across, I'm gonna put cell. I'm gonna click on cell E23, and I get the typical thing. I've got the display, okay, and then I look up in the formula bar, and there's the operation I'm multiplying. Same thing over on butter, okay. The same thing on the flour, and then on the total. Okay. And then they give us, they use the formula text function. Now, if you want to know what that is or how it works, click there and then see the little effects there? Up here by the formula bar, you see that? Everybody? Yeah? Okay. Now I'm going to do this, boom. And that will show me the dialog box for that function. And what it says is, okay, give me a reference. Okay? And it's going to requires a string form as a reference. It's a reference formula. And there it is. And they call it volatile because it can change. It's also like a random function. Now, just for kicks, let's go over here and come down to cell cell 32. All right. Now you'll see over there in row 20, I've got the total for each of these. Well, for the total amount of money from the charge from each of these, the cost from each of these suppliers. Okay. I can also use some summary statistics to try and figure out, okay, for example, let's put equal and we'll do mean, and you'll see the little menu I've got there, and I'm going to come down here and find the mean, or it'll be the average. I may have to mess with it. It may have to be, I'm probably going to have to go back with the average. So I'll put equal A, and it gives me the little drop down menu, and I want to get the average. Okay. And now I've got the function set up. It'll compute the average for me. And now I'm going to use the cell references. So I'm going to get the average of the sugar. I'm going to start here at cell E23. I'm going to come all the way down to cell E28. I'm going to put a parenthesis, and now I have the average. I know the average cost from those suppliers is $102. Okay. I could do the median, which is the middle value. I've got the average here. I could get the standard deviation if I want to do that, which is going to tell me, one standard deviation. If the mean is 50 and the standard deviation is 20, then one standard deviation above the mean is going to be between 50 and 70. Minus 1 would be between 50 and 30. Okay. So if I kind of want to have a feeling of what's the average charge, and I can look at these here, I can look at those costs for sugar, and now I can put them into perspective. Okay. You with me? Now, one of the other things I can do is I can try to create some type of visual display of them, because like I said in our first class, human beings look at patterns. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my cursor, I'm going to put it on C23. I'm going to come all the way down to C28, okay? And I'm going to come over to one of the easiest tools I've got, and that's conditional formatting. You see the conditional formatting up there in styles, up in the ribbon? Found it? Okay, I'm going to click it, and I have some choices. Now I can highlight cell rule. I can put some rules in there, but I'm going to do something more simplistic. I'm going to create a bar graph. Okay, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to come down here to the data bars, and they have two types, gradient or solid. Okay, one of those two types. Now I'm going to click the data bars, and I'm going to go ahead and use a gradient fill so that I can still see the numbers. And now I have a nice little bar chart. Now I've moved beyond just creating some numbers and posting a set of numbers, and now I see a pattern. I can say which one's the highest more easily. I can see which one's the lowest, and I can get a sense, do they all kind of cluster together? Well, they kind of do. There's one that sticks out, that's supplier 2. Okay, and then the other that sticks out is supplier 3. Supplier 1 sticks out, it's the highest, supplier 3 is the lowest. So I'm using the tool here to try to put these figures into perspective. Got me? Now, I could do the same thing with the butter, with the flour, or with the total. And then I've got something I can work with to make a decision. Yeah? Well, if I was concerned about the cost of the supply of what they charge for sugar, I can look at this bar chart. I can say, okay, do I want to go with the highest or the lowest? And so I could say, all right, or these other threes are kind of clustered together. So if I'm going purely on the basis of price, I might say, okay, I'll do it $72.50. But there's a reason they're selling it to me for $72.50 versus somebody selling it to me for $135. And that's the next thing is I got to say, okay, why is there what's the difference between the two of these? And typically what we'll find is when we look at one of these, it'll lead me to another question about, okay, well, do they charge me? Can I buy on time from them? And do they charge me a high amount of money? Can I order it like on a business to business, like a receivable? Is the quality of the stuff lower than what this higher, the supplier 2, is their quality better? Can they get me a rush shipment? I run out. I'm in the middle of some kind of a high seasonal period. I misorder, and can they get it to me next day or by this afternoon? Do I pay for that? What am I getting for the additional $60 I'm spending? That makes sense? Yes? But I wouldn't know that or really see it if I hadn't gone ahead and taken those data and put them into some type of order. Now, let's go over here to butter, and I'm going to do the same thing with butter. I'm going to start here at cell E23. Sure. Yeah. And if you work through one, you could make an error, or maybe the text has an error. It could be any one of a number of those things. Now, when we do the hands-on assignments, I'll know what the answer ought to be in an exam. So, yeah, if the number's not what it ought to be, and I'll look at it and I'll tell you why. You really can't start to kind of get a feeling of how these work or why they're valuable for you unless you use them. It's that simple. As I said before, the whole idea of this is not to make you geeks, but to enable you to say, okay, how do I display? I've got this data here. How do I organize it? How to display it in a way that I can use it? Well, I've got the butter. Let's look at butter. And I'm going to come back to conditional formatting, and I'm going to use the data bars. I'm going to do another gradient fill. And I'm going to use a different color. Why would I use a different color? They're different products, exactly. So I'm going to use this. I've got these different products, and I'll go ahead and choose it. Now I can look here, and now let's look again. I have a little bar chart. Anything stick out to you? Anything catch your eye? Okay, the first one, the supplier one, what they charge for butter is very, very high. And then I have some here that are lower. The lower is like 324, 328, 329. So again, I have to ask myself, why do they charge so much more? What's the difference? Okay. Now, when you go to work, what will probably happen is you'll open up your machine, which could be probably a tablet, maybe a desktop or whatever, and depending upon your level with your report level within that company, and depending upon its industry, et cetera, you'll probably have something that pops up that's like a dashboard. Maybe something like this. You won't have done the computation or any of that stuff, but you'll have the numbers there, and it will be up to you to try to make some decisions about them. So notice what I've done here. My pattern has been to always say what? I start with the outliers, the extremes. What's the highest, what's the lowest? And I ask myself, if they're selling me something, why do these people charge so much more than these other folks? Now, at a certain point, I'm probably going to get on the phone and I'm going to call and talk to them and say, hey, you know, I'm seeing you're a little bit above your competitors. And now people all know that. And they're going to say, well, here's why we charge what we do. Let's go on over and let's do the flour. And we're going to do that same process. Okay. And oops, what did I miss? Oh, I did, didn't I? Okay, let's go ahead and highlight that from C through, that's G23, G28. And I'm going to use the conditional formatting. And I'm going to use the data bars. I'm going to use the gradient fill, and I'll make this, let's just make that yellow. Now, there's something interesting that just happened, isn't there? Now, supplier one had the highest price for sugar, the highest price for butter, but they got the lowest price for flour. You see that? So it's odd. Yes. So you can see like the whole. Yeah, those are the prices. Now, if you click inside a cell, let's click inside of cell G23. Okay, you see the formula? They'll show you the references, and then click in there, and those will give you. They'll highlight the cell with a color around the cell in a field, so you can find them. Now, one of the things we'll look at later on here is how I use a thing called the name manager to be able to declare a certain cell as a variable and give it a name. And so I'm working with names instead of just cell references. And you know, if you want to, you can also go ahead and play around with it, but you can freeze that so it has a rolling display with it. But we're not at that point. But what I'm after, now as I look here though, now I see I've got supplier 6. And they've got the highest, supplier 1's got the lowest. Now if I'm your boss and I say, look at all these figures and tell me who should we buy all of our stuff from, because we really want a single source supplier. Who would we use? Okay. 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 And unless there's something really different in the quality, for sure. Yeah. But this would this first display would give you a sense of where things are in terms of the prices for those. Now, this is not really exciting, and I understand that. But one of these days, it's not going to be sugar, butter, and flour, but it's going to be something else. It's going to be bids, or components on a product, and you're going to be sitting at your desk going, how do I make this decision? Okay? And that might be where I would try to say, okay, do I have a component cost that I could work with? Could I say overall, on the basis of what they charge for all three of these, because the sugar, the butter, and the flour are components to make cakes or whatever they make, bread, I don't know. But they're components. So I can look and say, okay, well, what's the composite cost? Well, I have that because I have the totals. So let's go over to column H. And I'm going to go from C23 down to C28. Okay? And I'm going to use a conditional formatting. I'm going to use the data bars. I'm going to use gradient fill. And this time I'm going to use I think I'll use a nice, that little red that they've got there. Now this helps me put stuff into perspective, because if you look at the component costs, what do they charge for each of these? If I'm going to use a single source supplier for all three of these, then I'm looking at, all my extremes are going to be supplier 1's the highest, and well, I'm looking at, let's see, supplier 3 is the lowest. Now I've used some conditional formatting. You know, I could also go in here and take a look at these, and I could put them in, I could sort and filter them. So what are you talking about? Let's try this for just a moment. Take your cursor on and put it on CE23, okay? And come all the way over down to cell H28, okay? Highlight that array, and then come up to the conditional formatting. I see the questionnaire, hang on just a sec. And I'm going to clear the rules from the selected cells, okay? Got it? Now they're all clear, right? Now I'm gonna sort these. So put your cursor on cell E22, and well, let's do this. Just put your cursor on H22 and scroll all the way down to H28. Okay, and then you'll just come across, and I can sort or filter, and I'm going to do a custom sort, and I'm going to continue with the current selection, and I'm going to put these into ascending order and put them by total and largest to smallest. So I can now look at the total cost per vendor. I can see what I'm looking at in terms of I've got them sorted. So I use the sort. I've used a conditional formatting. I've used the sort to try to put the data into some kind of perspective for me. That help? Let me go back up here for a minute because I had some questions. And okay, all right, got that. We do okay. Yep. All right. Yeah, someone here mentioned I'm going to upload both to be safe. Don't, if you want to upload them both, fine. You're going to have some level of trust in me that if I tell you either one of them is fine, either one is fine. Why would I tell you that and then count off? I'm old, but I'm not stupid. And be ignorant for me to do that. Either one of them will basically cover what I wanted us to get accomplished with doing some of these tasks and to talk about how I can display the data, etc. One of them is one I've done several times. You can see a completely finished case. The other kind of walks you through the baby steps of how you do it because you got a textbook connected to that. Fair enough? All righty. I'm going to close this thing off here. See here just a sec. And I don't want to save that. So we've worked through those. I'll close that off. And I'll close that off. And we'll go back over here. And so you could see, I'll go back over here in the files section. I'll just go back up to the modules. And if I can get up there and get this to close off. There we go. And so let's talk about the modules. And week 0, I didn't get to talk about Guardian, so I will do that on Tuesday. We're still kind of doing some logistical stuff, and that's okay. Not a big deal. Now, make sure I'm still there. All right. So Excel 1, okay, I have that key there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to publish it. Okay. So it should appear. You say, could I use that to upload it? Sure. I want you to look through it and see it. See what I've done. Okay? Once you figure out, for example, cell referencing, you're light years ahead of everything. Once you figure out how to use the function bar in Excel, where it will explain a function, what it does, what it's for, etc., you're light years ahead. Okay? Once you understand how I try to display data in the simplest way possible, first, before I do anything else, is put you light years ahead of everything. And the other is I start with looking for the outliers. What's the largest? What's the smallest? And then that brings me to a point where I can ask some questions like, well, why are they the highest? Or why is that the largest? Why is that the smallest? And that starts to give me a sense of the range of things that I'm looking at. Does that make sense? Yes? No? Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that's the 9th time I've affirmed that. Do we need to do 10? Now we've done, with 7's a holy number, but we went over that. So let's do 12 because it was 12 disciples. So let's do that. We've done 10, so let's do 11 and 12. We need to do that. One thing that's important for you to understand about me, and it's this, and sometimes folks get the wrong impression. The grade if your brain's kind of working halfway and you work, you're probably going to make a B or an A in that course. I don't believe it's my job to lower your grade point. I'm not concerned about that. That's why I said, well, why would you have me go through this and give me credit? Because I want you to see them and experience them and work through them, because I think you'll learn a lot more if you don't feel that pressure. You've got the quizzes for the content, that's one thing. Trust me, you can leave the business school with a perfect 4.0, and you will still encounter things you had no idea that was waiting on you for you out there. That's just the way the business world is, because things change. Your skills will be obsolete about a year after you've been out there. That's hard to accept, but it's the truth. But we do the best we can to walk you through some experiences. And I want you to kind of relax and not worry about your grade. Now, if you become one of those who at the end of the semester haven't turned in 10 things, you're out of luck. You are out of luck. Okay? And if you take an exam and something and you look at an item and you go, this makes no sense, you can always ask me. It's fine. Okay? Folks, thank you so very much for your time. Are we all clear about what's happening? Yes? I hear murmurs in the congregation. Yes or no? Yes? Okay. So don't be bobbleheads. Don't be lying to me now. Be going, yeah, and then you get out here and go, oh, we're good. And if you still have some questions, shoot me an email or sit through the next session. You don't have to, but. Okay. Better now? Yes. Yeah, good.